TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. Israel reiterates its unwavering commitment to prevent hostile forces from taking root south of Damascus. The European Union announces its decision to suspend a range of sanctions against Syria. For the first time since 2012, the European Union Israel Association Council convenes in Brussels. Jerusalem will not accept hostile forces south of Damascus as the IDF operates vigorously to guarantee the security of Israel's northern residents and friendly populations in southern Syria, to include the Druze community. These remarks were echoed by Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz, who stressed to graduates of an IDF officer's graduation ceremony that Israel's eyes are wide open vis-à-vis Syria in particular, where hostile forces are seemingly attempting to consolidate power in Damascus.
Our eyes are open to the entire region, and today especially to Syria. We pledged not to allow a return to the reality of October 7th, and so it will be. There is a new policy in southern Syria, which the Prime Minister had also noted. The IDF will not allow hostile forces to establish themselves in the security zone in southern Syria, from here all the way to Damascus, and we will act against any threat. We will strengthen ties with friendly populations in the region for good neighborly relations, with an emphasis on the large Druze population, which is the sisterly population of our Druze brothers who are fighting together with us here in the State of Israel, and we are committed to enable them to maintain a connection with their relatives and partners of the rich Druze history. The IDF will remain on the summit of Mount Hermon and in the buffer zone for an unlimited time to ensure the security of the Golan Heights communities, the North, and all residents of the State of Israel.
Jerusalem's top defense official went on to highlight that the IDF had made defensive and offensive preparations to confront any threat.
The Chief of Staff and the top IDF brass rapidly constructed 2 military posts on the Hermon Peak and 7 military posts in the demilitarized zone, for the purpose of enabling defense and offense to the full extent in the face of any challenge that we encounter, as I said, for an unlimited time, for the security of the communities in the State of Israel.
It's interesting to know that a couple of dozens of Syrians who have known jihadist affiliations in southern Syria conducted a protest against Jerusalem's unequivocal determination to ensure that the jihadist efforts to take over Damascus will not threaten Israel or its natural allies in southern Syria. And in contrast to circulating reports which are evidently promoted by backers of the HTS regime in Damascus, the majority of the relevant actors in southern Syria warmly welcomed Israel's decision. Meanwhile, IDF forces in southern Syria are operating day and night to clear the territories south of Damascus from any weaponry that may pose an imminent threat to Israel.
We conduct operations here day and night, especially to remove weaponry and capabilities that the other side holds. During the operation that we conducted overnight, we located weapons in one of the houses. It following a sequence of operations in which we found missiles, explosives, and mines, from explosive devices all the way to tanks and armored vehicles, which we also explode and destroy. All this is done for the purpose of protecting the residents of the southern Golan and the citizens of Israel.
It is important to know that today entails a significant test to the HTS regime, which officially launched the start of a so-called National Dialogue Conference, hoping to unite Syria under the Al-Qaeda-linked group in Damascus. However, in light of a limited number of non-HTS supporters who've decided to arrive at the National Dialogue Conference, the Damascus-appointed Preparatory Committee decided to prolong the duration of the conference in an attempt to buy time to persuade more non-aligned Syrian factions to make an appearance.
For example, if Syrians decided during their conference to extend the conference, this will be the case. The preparatory committee does not have any pre-restrictions or limits on this.
It is important to explain that the main reason that the majority of Syria refuses to accept diktats from the HTS interim regime in Damascus stems from deep-rooted concerns over Abu Muhammad al-Julani's own refusal to accept requests for assurances that his jihadist ideology not be imposed on the general Syrian population. And while these assurances were also demanded by the European Union, in a contradictory act, Brussels announced its decision to suspend a range of sanctions against Syria, including restrictions related to energy, banking, transport, and reconstruction. Meanwhile, Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar visited Brussels yesterday, where for the first time since 2012, the E.U Israel Association Council convened.
Today marks the 50 years since the EU signed its first trade agreement with Israel. Over these decades, our relationship has grown. We had a candid meeting today on issues of mutual concern, especially at this critical moment in the Middle East. I'm glad we can do this with you. We started today by reiterating the condemnation of the brutal and indiscriminate attacks by Hamas on the 7th of October 2023. The state and the people of Israel can count on EU's full support on this.
The EU foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, went on to stress the European institutions' support for the fragile ceasefire in the Gaza Strip, while highlighting further the EU's unchanging position vis-à-vis the Israel-Palestinian conflict.
The EU is now supporting the fragile ceasefire that is holding in Gaza. All parties must respect the terms of the ceasefire agreement. Our Rafah border mission is useful and concrete contribution to the support of ceasefire on the ground. It was welcome news to see the release of 6 more hostages on Saturday, including 2 people who were held more than a decade. But we are closely watching developments and cannot hide our concern when it comes to the West Bank. Ministers today stressed that there can be no other solution than the two-state solution. We support the Palestinian Authority and its return to Gaza. We support the return of every displaced Palestinian for whom Gaza is their home. When the time comes, the EU will also support Gaza's reconstruction together with the regional actors. The Palestinians must be able to live in Gaza. At the same time, Gaza must never be again a terror haven.
Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar, for his part, expressed the importance which Jerusalem regards the Israel-Europe relationship.
Israel and Europe have a common history, partly painful, shared values, shared challenges, and mutual interests. Sometimes there are also differences of opinion. It's okay. Israel is a great trade partner for the EU. Over the last year and a half, Israel has proven itself as a stable and strong force in a chaotic and very unstable region. Israel is an asset to Europe strategically, economically, technologically, and in the field of energy and more. Israel makes a direct contribution to the security of Europe, in intelligence, in preventing terrorism, and in security cooperation.
Jerusalem's top diplomat went on to urge the European Union not to allow the Israel-Palestinian conflict hold the relations between Jerusalem and European capitals hostage.
Israeli-EU relations must not be held hostage to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This approach will not give the European Union a strong and influential position, quite the opposite. We are always open to listening and open to dialogue, but no one will force us to endanger our people. We cannot put them at risk of annihilation.
Minister Sa'ar went on to stress that Israel is also fighting Europe's fight.
The attack on Israel from 7 different fronts since October 7, and the voices we have heard in recent days from Tehran, Yemen, Beirut and Gaza prove that there are concrete intentions to eliminate Israel. We want a partnership based on real, respectful dialogue with an attempt to find common ground. Radical Islam, the Iranian nuclear program, terrorism, hatred and hostility to the Western way of life, these are all common threats to Israel and Europe. Even if we are fighting on the front lines for our existence and paying the price, we are also fighting your war. The weakening of the radical axis led by Iran in the Middle East as a result of its war against Israel also creates new opportunities alongside its challenges. This would not have happened without Israel's firm resolve in the difficult military campaign. Since October 7, 2023, and the heavy prices we have paid.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. TV7 Israel is a non-profit ministry with all of our productions exclusively reliant on your generosity. Therefore, if you're blessed by the content of our programs, I would like to encourage you, support TV7 Israel. You can donate via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. Separately, I'd also like to encourage you, pray for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. I'm Jonathan Essen wishing you an Erev Mevorach, and God willing, we'll see you during our next update. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.